Chapter 8. 4 minutes and 59 seconds later, a voice suddenly, forcefully, loomed behind the pirate captain. There are varied translations. John Hart spun around, astonished to see the stranger in the crimson suit and fedora had sprung out of thin air. The man in red continued reading from his wrist device. Coreopsis charybdis can translate to the lovely appearing vortex. How did you get in here? But this one's better. The alien had a gleam in his scarlet eyes as he pointed to his temporal wrist device. An alternate translation is the always lovely maelstrom. Hey, the pirate captain shouted again. How did you get in here? The man in red answered. I like that. The always lovely maelstrom. Fitting, given the situation.
It's his watch.
Raw spit out a toothpick.
It's some kind of vortex manipulator like you got, boss. It just does more. Nothing doing.
Fachagio grinned, elatedly.
So he ain't no superhuman? He ain't some advanced alien? He's just another time agent.
The brute lowered his futuristic shotgun at the man in red, leveling it near his chest.
Got a fancy toy, that's all. Told you it won't be nothing to worry about, John.
The pirate captain nodded. You know my terms, correct? You figure what I want? He eyed Traveler's crimson arm of time. The man in red nodded. You demanded that I submit myself in exchange for the crew and my companions. John Hart pointed. I want your device. It's not a standard vortex manipulator, and I'm betting it's better. And what lets you perform emergency transport, become unseen? What else can it do? Laser sword, standard maglev grappling anchor, anti-particle force shield. Hart stepped forward, leering his gritty hand open. So hand it over. You take me to engineering. Have Captain Hawk or somebody else override the emergency lockdown. I want to know when Sully and D3 are fine, on the way off the ship, and everyone else on board is released. Then I will give you the crimson arm of time. Raw spit out his toothpick.
I thought you were the crimson.
Oh, shut the hell up. The pirate captain was quiet for a moment as he stared down at Werlick, Zhang, and Navi, all three securely fastened and gagged. Fine.
I can stay, boss,
Fachagio offered. The man in red smiled, standing in front of the exit. That's not the deal. All 4 of you are coming with me, so I don't get double-crossed. All 4 of you. Includes the temporal mortar's hired goons and his love interest. I'll lead the way. John replied, Fine. Get Stu up here. He can keep an eye on the bridge while we're gone. Raw sent a summons out for the chief engineer, Stu, as Fachagio took the pirate captain aside.
How did he know you and Captain Hawk have a thing?
Doesn't matter. John Hart kept his voice down. Guy can turn invisible. Probably knows all kinds of shit he shouldn't. Don't worry. He won't be around long anyway. Stupnetsky appeared on the bridge, looking confused. Raw thrust a gun into his hands, indicating over his shoulder with his thumb.
Don't let him leave.
Stu glanced down at his fellow officers, Werlick, Zhang, and Navi. They looked pitiful and angry. Okay, he grimaced. The pirate captain gripped Nishark's hand in his as he watched the incredulous stranger in the scarlet outfit step out of the bridge. He was followed by Raw and Fachagio, their weapons aimed, fingers on triggers. John and the former captain walked behind them. I like the name Nishawk. The man in red started talking idly. Funny how languages mutate and change over time.
Enough of the talk,
Fachagio warned. As the group walked, the alien continued his explanation regardless. See, your ancestor was a Harkness. Nishawk sighed. Yeah, I'm aware. Half a millennium later, fluidity of grammar has corrupted the surname Harkness to become simply Hark these days. Whoop-de-doo. Thus, the forename Ness is now truncated from the form of Ness.
That's enough,
Rawl shouted.
Does this jackass have an off switch?
Apparently not. The pirate captain rubbed his eyes. Pretty much wish I hadn't gone looking for him now. Sully peered out of the bulkhead window portal.
There he is, lass. I told you he was coming back for us. That weird alien bloke hasn't let me down yet.
D3 saw the man in red walk toward the engineering door, his hands raised, and 2 pirates behind him with weapons drawn. The pirate leader stood behind, motioning for something. The 4 were speaking, but D3 couldn't make it out. Suddenly, an all clear was sounded throughout the Charybdis, and the engineering hatch emitted a loud pop sound, indicating that the lockdown mechanism had been released. Sully and D3 started to leave. Fichagio and Rawl trained their weapons, blocking the doorway. Hand it over.
Not until they're out of here, and on the way to safety.
John Hart stared upward at the ceiling. Oh, 7 hells. Just go. He finally shouted at Traveler's companions. D3 booked it the hell out of there. Sully was at the threshold when he peered back at his Time Lord friend.
Say, old boy, Purges parked in the Botanical Bay.
Fichagio looked back.
What's a Purge? Some kind of damn ship.
Sully ignored the lackey.
And part of the Charybdis is still under lockdown. Hate to prick your balloon.
The man in red asked.
I thought it was bust your bubble. Surely,
Sully agreed.
But I do like to say prick when I get the chance.
The man in red sighed.
Right, now if you... prick.
The retired Commodore looked over at the pirate captain.
Look, Sully, if you and... prick, 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 prick.
Sully was grinning now, staring at John Hart. The stranger in the crimson suit finally raised his voice.
If you and D3 would just leave, I can guarantee your safety. Where exactly? Just go.
As the retired Commodore limped out of engineering, John Hart called after. Good luck with the escape shuttles. You may have to sit in someone's lap. And in a lowered tone, if your old bones can even make it that far. His attention turned, once more, to the man in red. So the Time Agency sent you here to stop me.
Well.
No matter. The pirate captain waved it off. I don't care about that, and I don't care about you. He thrust out his hand. But make sure the Time Agency knows this. Advanced vortex manipulators and lame-ass secret agents don't scare me. The stranger in the crimson suit tilted his head. I'll tell you what. John raised his eyebrows. I don't think I'll trap you here. As a matter of fact, when I leave, I'll give you ample time to escape as well. I'm not a murderer by trade. I'm a businessman. The man in red nodded. Reluctantly, he detached the crimson arm of time and held it out.